Well, sorry about that, folks. We had a little technical glitch here. This is the first chance I've had to use or was forced to use YouTube's new streaming. I did not realize, having everything set up correctly, that they changed your streaming key, and it took me a minute to figure out why I wasn't getting a signal out. So I do apologize for the delay. I just got back into the house around 6:20. So things have been kind of busy today. We're going to avoid the topic at hand to some extent, but we're going to talk about things you can do to help still make money while you can't go out. I think that's the most important thing for the discussion today. I'll stay on longer if we need to, if people still have more questions. This situation that's going on now is going to affect all the way down. If you're reading and checking on what's going on, things have been affected. Something I've talked about before is I look at Google Trending, which is a site. Type in Google Trending and look at the online platforms and look at what's trending. You'll have to do keyword trending searches. And then SimWeb is another one that I use, which gives you data for specific sites. Trending, what is not trending and what is down on trending are like all the reseller platforms. I mean, everybody's watching the news, so more people are interested in the news and what's going on than necessities at this time. The number one thing, though, I can tell everybody, and I've been getting hate for talking about issues with this kind of stuff, is don't panic. That's the number one thing, is don't panic. I mean, I remember 9/11 in Washington, D.C., because that's where I was at the time, and I don't think there was as much panic then as there is now to some extent. You know, I'm not trying to compare. Everything's bad when stuff happens like that, but so I'm not trying to compare or make light of anything whatsoever, but you know, it's going to get worse before it gets better would be my take on it. So hunker down. Don't spend anything unless you have to. Don't buy any new equipment. Don't do anything like that. Just play it out and see what happens, I guess, is the biggest point. Don't panic again. I can say it 100 times and someone's going to say I'm being dramatic or something. I got a lot of hate mail for the last one about price gouging. I got a lot of hate mail, some really nasty ones. People said they aren't going to watch, aren't going to subscribe, and all this stuff. But every time I look at my phone, that's all I see, including right now, there's a big article on price gouging. Almost every state now has a hotline. So every state has issued a state of emergency, which is the requirement for price gouging to come into effect. It only affects the essentials and things like that, so you're free to sell any collectibles, antiques, or anything like that, whatever you want, just like you could before. You know, it's business as usual to some extent. I don't go out in the general public much anyway, just because I work a heck of a lot of hours. I know one of the big things that I heard, and I know it's going to be an issue for some folks, is not being able to source to find items to sell. And if this is all you're doing, I can completely understand why that's going to be an issue. Craigslist is still there, just to let you know. I have seen a lot of stuff going up on Craigslist, and I am sure that's why. Craigslist was not flooded, but there's probably an uptick of 20 or 30% of stuff on Craigslist. And Craigslist, when I looked at trending last, Craigslist was going up. So I would assume that more people are going to Craigslist and FB Marketplace to buy stuff to source to resell. You only got to meet one person in one place. You can bring a can of disinfectant with you to spray it all down, whatever you want to do. But that's probably the safest alternative. I just was talking with a patron earlier, and I don't like to call it names, but we were talking about what's closed around here. Some cities still have estate sales opened. I'm not going. I've got a ton of backstock, so I don't really need to source or do anything with that whatsoever till probably the end of the year or next year. But the point of it is, for those who don't, you know, that's an option. I'm not recommending going out and doing something like that, but it is there if you're in a dire need of merchandise. We lived on pretty much nothing when I started this full-time almost 10 years ago now. And I got out of college, couldn't find a job. I'm just going to talk about this for just a second here, just to tell you what you can do to sell straight from where you're at. And when we got out of school, I had nothing. We couldn't get a job around here. I wasn't going to move and uproot my children again for the 20th time. I was a regional, so I traveled a lot before that. Went to school. I wanted to be sat down in one specific place. I wanted to be near my aging mother, who has had issues and surgery just a month or so ago. So I try to help out. I don't have a lot of family, so I try to help that out, and I wasn't going to move again. So we tried the full-time eBay thing, and literally it was rough for 3 years. We ate ramen noodles and stuff like that. We started with, when I couldn't find stuff, we sold every book that we had in the house because, I figured I can always get them from the library. Who cares at that point? And books were really hot at that time. We were just starting a little bit on scanning books too, so we sold a ton of books when we started. I figured if I haven't looked at it in a year, anything in my house was game when we needed the money. I'm not telling you to jump and do something crazy. I'm not saying it's to the point like that or anything like that. I'm just giving you options, I lived at the bottom of the rung. I was, nothing coming in, never knew if we were going to have enough food, and, the whole works. I had no other avenue. I had a degree. I worked, long and hard, didn't take summers off or nothing. We always did the eBay internet, so that always was at least a safety net for us. I've been in this for a while, so I've got a little bigger safety net than most people, and I've got a little things that I don't share with people that, help me. We do art and stuff, and I still do advertisements and stuff. I know businesses are closed, so it's going to be a domino effect to some extent. In my book, anything in our belongings is fair game if it means feeding the kids or not feeding the kids. So, I don't have a problem if I've got to hawk something or whatever the case may be, if it's a matter of taking care of my family or, not knowing when the next meal's coming in. So again, I'm not making light of anything, as we lived in a dire, desperate situation when I graduated college with kids, and both looked for jobs. We did everything we could. The economy had already crashed, so there wasn't, jobs all over the place, and where we're at, it's a lot of industrial, and industrial was laying off left and right. So I didn't have much options, and you can't just pick up and move. You don't have any money to do that. So I was there. I was at the bottom. So I know I'm not trying to, again, I get attacked for stuff like this. So I'm not trying to make light of anything. Stuff happens, and you got to work through it. And anything is game, I guess, again, is the biggest point. I lived on ramen noodles. I see somebody's got that up there. I did that. We ate the ramen noodles. The kids ate the vegetables and all the good stuff because that's all we had, So it happens. I lived like that for 3 years, and I was a regional before that, and figured school would be the best bet. Again, I'm not trying to turn this into me or school or anything like that. I'm just saying we did whatever it took within legal means to get through it, and we came out, So this isn't going to be as bad as that. I pray and hope, but it can get bad. I'm not going to quote any numbers. I don't want to get into any of the hate from quoting stuff like that, but it's not the flu. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not worried as much for me. I have a child who does scare the death out of me for if he gets something, it could be an issue for him. So, he's been confined in the whole works already, but you got to worry about your loved ones, like your grandparents, your parents. That's more my concern. I'm not worried as much so for, say, me personally, but you got to think about everybody else. So I know a lot of people are angry about quarantine. It's not needed, not that, not anything. But, I'm only thinking about, the family. That's all I care, in my bottom end of the row here, it's the family first. So, yeah, and I get the hate thumbs down already. So, I figured that would happen. I don't know what it is with people, but, I get people saying, you got monetized videos and this and that. I have to pay my bills, of course, just like everybody else. I'm not trying to skank anybody for money here or anything like that. If anybody would see what we make off of YouTube, you would know why this isn't a living for me at all. You just crunch the numbers. That's all you got to do. I got a lot of hate, as I said, people saying I'm making a fortune off a video with a couple thousand views. Anybody who knows YouTube at all knows that's not possible. But yeah, but thrift stores around here, most of them are closed. Most of the grocery stores obviously are fine. They just changed their hours. Schools have been closed. All the schools are closed. All the parks, all the restaurants, all the bars, every show, all that stuff's closed around here. So it's the domino effect. I already know that like harbor employees were the first ones affected. Airline employees were the second, right up there at the same time. So it's trickled down. So, I mean, just be ready to do what you got to do. If this is your only recourse, the government has talked about, sending out something. I don't count on anything like that. I'm not asking for anything like that. People need it, though. So, what happens, what happens. Yeah, there comes some more hate already. So, I still don't get it with people these days. The bottom line, again, I'll say it again, don't panic. This is going to end. It's going to stop. It's going to be done with, But nothing is off limits when you need to sell stuff. Books are going to sell right now. I'm telling you right this minute. People are going to be home. They'd rather just order a book. The libraries are all closed. You can't go to a bookstore effectively around here. So again, books would be the first thing. DVDs, video games would be right up there on the top of my list of things to sell. Summer clothes, I don't think would still be the game. People's free time needs to be occupied. So I think that would be the biggest things to sell if you need funds coming in. And again, everything is replaceable. I would far rather just get rid of all my books and sell those, or get rid of stuff that's been sitting around, that's just sitting on a shelf, even if it doesn't go for as much as it normally would. My guess is that selling prices are going to be lower. I can't say for sure because our prices have... I just sold a record for $150. Again, not a brag, so before somebody hits me on that, but so the money's still coming in. There's people that are still buying stuff, retirees or whatever the case may be, that their money isn't affected by this, and they're still going about their everyday routine. They're just not out in public, and they're shopping more. So some of my categories, my sales are up. Many of the home goods and things like that, they're down. So, I've weighed the options. Another thing right up along the same line is switching your inventory out if that's the case. Nobody's going to be worrying about replacing, certain household goods at this time. They might need a shirt or something. They don't want to go shopping. Definitely books and things like that, as I just said, are really good prime things to sell. Music's pretty good. Things to occupy people's minds. I mean, that's the biggest thing here. Spring fever and all that kind of stuff, and cabin fever and the whole works. That's the biggest thing. And I see some other people, hazmat suits, yeah. A lot of that kind of stuff is regulated right now because of some of the price gouging laws that are in effect right this very second. I think every state that I've looked into has a hotline out for it right now. I know ours does. I know somebody's given me, like 3 different states, people have given me phone numbers. I'm not going to call out the phone numbers specifically because I don't know what state everybody's in, but they're out there. Somebody's calling out puzzles too. Definitely too. Legos, somebody else hollered out. Yes, I'm still selling Legos. I just sold some right now. If you've watched a few of my videos, you've seen that we have in fact, I think I posted it on on my Instagram page. I know I haven't been on Instagram in a week or more, but I will be on there tomorrow. I've got somebody coming in that helps me with Instagram occasionally. But Legos have been off the chain. I got like 500, 600, 700 pounds of Legos here. Probably around 1,000 minifigs sitting in here. None of it's listed yet. We're still deciding on the best route on that. But those stuff are selling. Their kids are home. People don't have daycare going on right now for some people. Because, again, around here, a lot of the daycare you have to sign up for in advance. And most of the daycare would be canceled because of the school closings. At least the pre-K and the ones that actually teach. At least here, that's the way they are. Because they're more vulnerable, kids and younger people. So... you just got to take it by ear. Don't rush out and do anything drastic is my biggest take on that, though. Be ready to do what you got to do, though. Again, take stuff that you haven't looked at in a year and haven't touched in a year and have it in the corner. Set it aside, or at least write yourself a list of things you can sell from your personal belongings if that is what you have to do. I'm not telling you to go do that. I'm not saying it's needed, but just be ready to do those sorts of actions. Again, we don't know how long this is going to take. I was in Washington, D.C. area through 9/11, and it was a lockdown there. Things were just off the hook, basically. And traffic normally around there was, a 3-hour in traffic for a 10-mile run, maybe even less distance than that. Sometimes it took us 3 hours on the Beltway there. And it was even worse after 9/11. So, anything was a hassle getting anywhere. You didn't even want to leave the house, it seemed. At least this isn't like someone's going to come and get us all. This is more at least a wait and see game, I guess, which can be worse than others. I mean, I don't want to make light again. Again, don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. I saw a video from on YouTube, quite a few of them, of people fighting, literally punching people over toilet paper. Toilet paper is made in this country. There is no technical shortage. There was a run on toilet paper, just like a run on a bank, where they wiped out the inventory on hand. That's all that happened. I went to Kroger's the other day, and they had a ton of toilet paper in the morning when they opened. There was no line when I went to go out. Now, other items were off the shelf, and they didn't have beans and rice and boxed powdered milk and things like that. But, you're going to survive. The stores still get food. Large percentage of the food is made and manufactured, processed, canned, and stored here in this country because it's cheaper to do it than to transport. So, again, paper is made here in this country. Toilet paper, paper towels, things like that. One thing that surprised us, and I've talked about, again, this isn't like any issue or anything, but my wife likes Pepsi, Georgia Peach Coke. It's in a bottle. It's made in Japan. And we were wondering why it was all gone off the shelves. I couldn't imagine Coke ending a product like that, but it comes from Japan, and they're not shipping it right now. Weird thing to think about, that they would spend all that money to ship glass bottles from there to here on a slow boat, basically. It just made no sense. So it's that much cheaper apparently to make it over there than it would be over here. Again, I was shocked, beyond belief on stuff like that. Just be ready for it, I guess, is the biggest thing here. Let's see who's on tonight. I see somebody talking about comparing 9/11. I'm not trying to compare it as a worse or anything like that at all. So don't think I'm trying to make light of any situation. For us in Washington, D.C., 9/11 was a horrid experience with a newborn child, and a small 3-year-old at that time too. So for me, it was a dire situation, and then followed right by that by the sniper shootings, which I was there for too in D.C. on the Beltway. So, you get through stuff. I mean, we're just going to have to play it by ear. I just think about numbers and, the rate compared to other, like the flu even, because I keep hearing people say it was just like the flu and not many people have it. Well, that's the point, that if we catch it in time, not many people will hopefully have it, and the hospital beds won't be overflown. I did read something today, and I'm just going to say this out here. Louisiana, which was hesitant to close some things, the governor came out, and this is just 10 minutes or so ago. I had the little voice thing on that reads out the news to you on the phone, and the governor said in 7 days, if the rate stays at what it is, they'll be out of beds and ventilators in 7 days. So, people are going to worry and they are going to panic, but at this point, you may not get it. The majority of the people, the vast majority of the people aren't affected. It's the fact that you could have it and not even know and spread it to somebody else. That's the only reason they're telling people to stay in. The only reason. I know they complained about China's draconian lockdown, but it actually worked in China because they haven't reported a new case for the first time since this started. Anyway, I don't want to rant on that. Let's see who's on here. I see Duncan already. Many sellers talking of closing their stores. I keep listing eBay sales at 99%. Seen a nice spider for you last night. I am listing. I'm looking at Christmas time. I'm looking at fourth quarter here right now. If this takes up and it keeps going, and things don't go great, sales will drop off for some folks. But then after it all starts to right itself, it should hopefully be, the government pumping up the business and getting stuff moving again. It's going to be right in time for Christmas. So, again, I look at Christmas last year for this coming up year. So not to change the subject or anything, but this all plays into it. It's business as usual for me. My employees still are working. I figure at this point they go to school with my kids if they've got it. They're only going to our place and back home. They're not out anywhere else. I've talked to parents and things like that. So, if we've been in contact this whole time because they've been working for me for, a couple of them for 3 years or better. So, I still have employees coming in. I'm still paying labor. I'm still making sales. Again, we're on more sites than most people, so things are still there for me. I'm still up from last year, believe it or not, a considerable amount. I am down from productions. I am down from what we should have been doing if everything was going the same. So I'm not going to tell anybody that it's not affecting me or anything like that, because it is. We did run out, and again, this is what I would recommend too. Every single morning, every single midday, and right before you go to bed, check out any chances to send offers to watchers. Do them 3 times a day. Because I've noticed you might, and I don't send them out in the past, and there's been months where I haven't even sent them out. And you'll see like that you might have 10 in the morning, and then if you don't send those out, you could come back later and there'll only be 8. So that's why I say, because if other people, these people that were watching your items were watching other people's items, and they get offers from other sellers, you may have been beat out because they're only getting so many offers at a time. So if 10 people send them an offer, they may have flooded them and they won't send an offer from you. So that would, SOL you on that one there. So take that into heart too. The other thing, I put 20% of my items that have been up for over 2 years on markdown. Sales marketing. I don't do promoted listings still, won't touch them. None of the paid to eBay. But I figured it would be safe to put down older merchandise. And I think I marked them down 30%, just whatever number it did on there. I wasn't doing anything drastic. I haven't done a sale in a while, and it's old merchandise, so I figure I got nothing to lose if I blow that stuff out. Again, these are items that have been in my store for over 2 years for the most part. So, I selectively did it. I'm not just going to go hog wild and empty my store out or anything like that. I still, countering offers and the whole works. Like Duncan, and I see Primetime Dom down there right now. We'll get to some more folks in just a second here. But, again, the conversation here is working through this. So I'm going to hit this here because it's in my head right now from what Duncan's saying. Duncan sells stamps and postal items a lot, and I love them, and I've got a massive assortment here, but I don't sell as many. I tend to keep more of those than I do anything else. If I run across a Graf Zeppelin, which those in my Patreon knows what I'm talking about there, I'm keeping it. It's going in a book, and that book is going to the bank vault box that we have. We ended up getting one of those, and I've had it for a few years. I'm heavy into stamps, but those areas, our retirees are probably 85% of the people that buy postage stamps are retired. And I'm not probably exaggerating. Duncan will probably tell you the same thing. Again, Duncan and I have known and talked to each other for a while. I mean, I'm not, I've never met him or anything like that, so there's no reason for me to stick up for anything. The point of it is, though, that certain categories you sell in, the folks are retired. They don't have to worry about a paycheck coming in, so maybe their IRAs or their investments may be touched by this, but stocks and stuff like that, I mean, they go up and they go down. Just because they're down one day, the next day they could go right back up, or in 2 months, or whatever the case may be. If you invested and you have stocks, and I don't have a fortune, I just have them for companies that I've worked for and I'm involved with, and that's it. Nothing major, electric companies and things like that too. But the point is that, if you invest in certain things, they might go down at some point, but the electric company's not going anywhere. Neither is the gas companies and some of the platforms we're on right now. So, I don't rush to sell anything. I don't need to. I just play the field. If I lose money on something one day, 6 months down the road, it may have completely reversed and gone back up to a profit. So I'm not, again, rushing and jumping, and I'm not trying to be volatile with anything. We've curbed our spending. I'm not buying a single solitary thing to resell because I don't need to, for one. So my pickers aren't going out. I did get a call the other day, and I did go out and get some military stuff. You and Patreon did see some of the items that I purchased. It was a meat guy and then go kind of thing. We both had a can of Lysol, which was kind of funny there. But the point of it is there's still some sourcing venues. Backstock, as I've always said, I buy a ton of merchandise, and I mean a ton, in bulk whenever I can in the summer when it's cheap. This is a perfect example of having that. Don't call it a dead pile. Hopefully after this, people aren't going to think of that as a dead pile. It's going to be a savings account for you, having backstock to sell. That's what I can say. And, people talking about closing their stores and they're not going to make it. That could happen. I am telling you, Not to scare you, not to panic anybody, but that could happen. I worked through it because I had no choice. I lived for 3 years making like zero. We broke even if we were lucky, and some months we had to carry bills over month by month. Sometimes we were behind 2 and 3 months on some bills out of college. So, you got to do what you got to do. Don't be afraid to call the power company. Don't be afraid to call somebody and explain your situation. I don't know any of them who didn't work with us back then. Even the big corps everybody hates so much, they all worked with us. Every one of them back then. We had kids, we explained the situation. Just be honest with people, and it works wonders, I have people attacking my moral compass and stuff like that. And the bottom line is I treat people a certain way, and karma does seem to come back when things happen, and I've always been gracious enough to have things fall into my lap and stuff like that. But I treat people nice. I don't do stupid things. I don't break the law, even if it's something simple. My friends, I've got a friend who's way up. He's second in command in the sheriff's department here, and even just if it was out of respect for a childhood friend that I've known since I was 5, I wouldn't want my name in the paper for doing something stupid in the first place. It's a respect thing to some extent. You can hate me or call me what you want for talking about some of this stuff, but the bottom line is do it right, do it decent. You will be surprised at how nice people are in the electric company or whatever the case may be when you're straightforward with them and things happen like this. That's what I can tell you too, from 3 years of having to make phone calls all the time, trying to make a bill or get somebody to wait a little bit of time for us to pay it, or even pay in partial payments and things like that too. So even a vet worked with us fully in the past and things like that. And when we didn't have insurance, health insurance, anything like that, even when we went to the doctor's offices, they always got samples for. I mean, it was surprising to say the least when it's really down that there are a lot of people who will help. So, don't be afraid to ask somebody, a business or something even too. Just FYI. Let's get to some more names. I know that went on and on. I do ramble a little bit, but I was talking to Dom earlier and stuff too. If you saw the Dom and Dom show, completely my mistake. I figured out what I did after the fact. I went to set an event for this, not knowing again that the streams and all that kind of sort was changed. So I backed out of there and didn't hit the save, but didn't realize that the second you put it up there was already active. So you live and you learn. I don't like the new YouTube setup for the back of the house for us back here. You folks don't see it, but it's terrible in my book. Everything's takes twice as long, 3 or 4 times as many clicks to get around. I was dreading having to use the new live, but they're killing it on both my channels, all the old aspects of it. And it's slow over here. Just to leave feedback and hit a heart or have one of the employees go through there, it takes 3 times as long. A third of the page is occupied by YouTube junk that's strolled up there. I hate the new YouTube back of the house. I figured it out now, so anyway, I still hate it. Hey, you two. I don't know if I should call it your first name, J&J. Hope you two are doing well. Everything was canceled, as you did see here locally. I don't know if the auction house you guys go to is still closed. I know the one that we go to occasionally canceled their last auction, if I read it right. And then I didn't see a post for the next one. So, as I said, a lot of people are closing stuff down up here, too. Let me see here. I don't mean to be bouncing around. Let me get back to Dom. Dom has a good video out, too, on stuff you can sell from around the house, too. So, again, Dom, friend of the channel. I think most of you folks here know who Dom is anyway. But again, he's got some good videos here. He's about the only one that I really have much time to watch. I watch Scott's or listen to him in the background once in a while. Bearded Picker, Wade's Ventures too as well. There's others. Craig, Landshark Picker, I listen to some of his sometimes. I just don't have much time to watch any videos. And this week, man, I've been floored and flooded. I had to take our Henry, I'm sure you've seen him, my long-haired Chihuahua. We have 2 Chihuahuas. I had to take him to the vet today, and we went to the vet. And I go to the door. You can't get in the building. There's a big sign on the door. You got to call. And there's all these cars. So you have to wait in your car with your dog. And they're calling you in. You're keeping your distance. There's 2 doors you got to go through that are locked. and then they take you straight into the room, which was kind of weird. But, safety-wise, they're still seeing animals, so I was very happy. Our dog has an ear infection that's really bad. It's like the third time he's had it, so we're going to have to look at some other options. But anyway. But again, I've got something going on with Dom, too. We're going to do another Don and Dom show, and then there's also going to be another something else going that we're working on now. I haven't got him a date yet just because things have been so hectic here. But Dom, great guy, great friend of the channel. So if you haven't watched Primetime Treasure Hunter, obviously, I'll tell you right now, you should watch him. Again, he's about the only one that I really listen to. And Carl, he told me you were the winner, or the auction winner of the Pink Panther. So congrats, Carl. Glad it went to somebody who's going to enjoy it. Fancy Pink, how are you doing? Bottle of it, oddly enough, the next day found a 1933 Gluck's cone top beer can. Also sold same day. Yeah, I would say something like that would. Cone top cans, man, I don't keep those in house. If you watch my bottle video, if you look at the shelf that has the Pepsi in it, we've got a couple cone top cans on that shelf in our glass hospital barrister. If you saw that video on the bottles, you can see some cone tops in there if you look closely. Just FYI. I don't sell any of the Pepsi, Coke, or soda-related cone tops. We keep those. Just because they have never gone down. The Pepsi, one of the Pepsi ones she has, like 10 years ago, it used to go for like, I don't know, $175. Same cans up to $450. So, and all we've done is just set it on a shelf. So stuff like that goes up. It doesn't go down. As time goes by, less and less cone tops show up, and you only have a limited supply in collections, and then they don't get sold. So stuff like that is something to hold on to. You know, it's like money in the bank for me. You know, if I sold everything I have for $1 a piece, I'd have, you know, a couple $1 million probably. Obviously, a lot of the stuff isn't worth much, but, you know, I got a lot of good stuff here to mess with anyway. Let's see here. Where are we? Hang on. We got Dom coming back, or Duncan coming back in down here. Now's the time to list more. People will be staying home. If you can't go out to source, then source online. I'm lucky I use sourcing agents, so everything's sent to me. Your sourcing agents might not be able to go out either, though, Duncan. Like my pickers, I'm down to like one that wants to go out. Pickers that I have, and I've said this before, are older folks, so they're not too prone to want to go out or go to sourcing locations at this point. There's a couple diehards that'll go out no matter what. They just say they'll wear a mask and wear rubber gloves and won't touch anything, and it's a risk, is what I can say, whatever you do. There was a sale I could have went to, but again, I don't need to source anything now. I'm not going to source right now. Let me throw this out there, too. There's always wholesale. You can still do wholesale no matter what's going on with reselling. You can still do wholesale, and I've got wholesale accounts. We do B2B on Amazon. Again, type in B, the letter B, and then number 2, and then B again, and then Amazon, and look into business to business. As we have accounts that many people don't even know exist, like business to business on Amazon, and we can sell wholesale. Let's put it this way: you have options now to buy a pallet of something, list it on a business to business, and sell it to another business. Mind you, at a reduced profit margin, but you sell it all at once and you're done. Instant. You could have it one day and have it sold the next. It may not be a 30% profit margin, but I'll take a 10% overnight profit margin any day of the week when we're talking quantity of 500, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 units. So think of it that way. And there are things out there that have nothing to do with essentials for this situation. Music, DVDs, and stuff like that. Even toys, video games that you can get wholesale. I've given a wholesale company out in a video on here as well. There's local ones too. So I'm not going to give you my insider wholesale accounts or anything like that, but there's enough of them out there. One of mine is local. It's in my town. So just think of that. Type in wholesale in near me, and you should find some right near you that could sell some items. Another item category that's going to sell better right now are religious items. Medals, crosses, crucifixes, rosary sets, beads, Bibles. All of that stuff sells now. And I'm not trying to tell you to market up stuff or anything like that, but I sell it all the time anyway. I'm not going to raise prices. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I'm just telling you it's the same type of stuff that's going to sell right now, right up there with books and educational and games and play stuff like that. Religious items are selling right this second. I was checking again. As I said, I'm now checking 3 times a day offers to watchers religiously now. And I'm doing it just to make sure. I'm not saying it's desperate where I have to do anything like that, but I'm not going to miss the opportunities at this point. I'd rather sell more items now just to be safe and put a little bigger nest egg away than anything else. If it gets worse, I'll at least have gotten some more revenue coming in and you know, the end of the story right there. So religious items are selling right now. Out of the items that I had offers to watchers, you know, the ability to send out, and one of the times looking, 35% of them were just religious-based items. So, you know, just FYI. It's always a given at this sort of situation that you're going to sell more religious items and they're going to be more sought after. It's a given. It's happened every single time something like this has gone on. Not necessarily like this, but, you know, some drastic situation. So, let's see here. It all depends on what you sell, but I believe we'll all feel a dip. No one is getting out of this. That Carl is 100% right. How are you doing, Carl? Thinking of how many people aren't working right now. They aren't buying either. That is correct. Again, it depends on what you sell. A lot of the stuff that I sell goes to people who aren't working in the first place or work for, say, a college, university, or Hollywood or something like that. And they're still buying because they still have basically unlimited funds to some extent. I sell to some, well, I don't want to give away too much, but they're high-ranking people at some major universities who are in the history and art departments. And right now, they're spending the time buying certain things because they always have the fund for the university or college campus to them. It doesn't matter if something else is going on. The money is already allotted, and at certain times of the year, I get massive sales from certain things. I also got another San Francisco art company who bought a ton of stuff because he's stuck due to a quarantine, so he spent and invested an ungodly amount of money in our store just the other day, and I was kind of surprised, and he sent me a nice little note. I've talked to him quite a few times. He's given me his website and information on things he does with the stuff, and I do special orders for him now, which is another good thing, that I can work special orders out where he, you know, wants certain items that I have in inventory that I don't have listed, and I'll put together specific lots. If you, again, on Instagram, I've done videos on some of the lots I sent to this same gentleman from San Francisco. So in some aspects, it's going to help some people. In some aspects, it's definitely going to hurt. As I said, my vintage and collectibles are still fine. If I might have a tick up, actually, if anything, on those. But my home goods and stuff like that are down. Clothing's going to be a mixed bag. It's kind of hard to say. The one good plus on this is you're not going to have much competition from the Chinese vendors right now. This is not a racial thing. I'm not trying to insinuate anything by that. I'm just saying a lot of people are going to have a hesitant issue with ordering from China, if they'll even be delivered. My wife ordered a pair of specialty reading glasses. They're only made in China. It's got a special coating on them just for her specific eye issue. And we ordered them like, I want to say the end of January. They've been on hold at the Postal Service inspection facility for a month and a half, which is not common at all. So you're not going to get it if you order it from China, possibly as well. Flights aren't flying out, so the mail's not going anyway. So the point of it is they're going to be buying from American people right now. So that's a big plus, I would say. The chances of you selling something over anybody else from another country are extremely high for those in America. For those in England, your English site will probably have better sales for those in England than from out of the country. Same goes for whatever country you may be in. Australia, for those in Australia, like Duncan here. That would be my personal guess. You don't have to worry about stuff coming overseas or getting stuck anywhere. They're going to be buying from local vendors, local United States vendors, Australian vendors, UK vendors. So that's a plus. So you've already got some of your competition eliminated. So if you pay attention, you spend some time now, since if you're not going out, you can do some research, comp research. This is a key time to do it. Do some research on what's hot right now, because that changes. And you don't just have to do it on eBay. I said this before. I use Google Trending all the time. You can trend what's selling and what's hot by keyword trending, SEO trending on Google Trending for free. So if you want to know what's going on, what everybody's talking about in certain categories, you can do that very easily. You can look at hot items on eBay, then you can go out and compare them on Google Trending. There's like the SimWeb and all the other sites that do that. There are some paid services out there that do that too. I'm not saying I haven't paid for services that do that, but the options are out there if you want to invest the money into them. There's a lot of ways to figure out what's hot right now. And I'm not trying to say something should be hot, but there's going to be things that are selling that can steer you around. And again, I'm going to give you another hint. Some of the items that are selling right now that are in the top on the trending list are stuff you can get wholesale if you know what's trending to get them before everybody else does. That's all I'm going to tell you. The options are yours if you want to dig into that. Again, you got to have the money to play the field on some of the wholesale issues, but the options are still there right now until more people catch on to what's trending. Google Trending, and don't panic. I'll say that again here. So let's get down to some more comments and questions. Know my sales are at 99%. See my Facebook group called eBay Masters Reselling Group. Yeah, I think you and oh shoot, I can't think of. I'm totally brain dead on this. I know who you're doing that with. Is the point? Let me pop on down here. Yeah, my sales are actually still good. I'm still up from last year and up from last month. A very large percentage. From last month, we're up like 62% as of now. But it's down from our projections. My projections all skewed down, every one of them. Of course, I do generalized projections. I'm not projecting for each individual category. And what's dragging me down is my households and stuff like that. You know, the everyday items are almost dead in the water on some of them. Not all of them. So we totally changed our whole 90-day plan for what's going on now. And we're just listing the stuff that's going to sell right away. That's the key if you got a lot of inventory and stuff. I can hunt and peck in what I'm going to sell. I don't have to sell any specific thing any specific day. But the things that are selling, again, I'm selling postcards like mad, even on HIP. And two, I wanted to shout this out too. HIP Postcard changed their pricing for those who switched on to HIP for my Patreon group. Just FYI, which I was kind of surprised because I never got a notice from them about that at all. So it was kind of bothersome that they did that. I was talking to somebody else, and then I did get a message from Aaron as well. I haven't been on Instagram until just this morning. I didn't even have a chance to respond. But so just FYI, I just wanted to shoot that out there. And it's stuff that can occupy time as well. Just going to be a lot of folks that are being careful not getting paid. Yeah, that's what I think too, Carl. Just FYI. But those on HIP, they did raise the price. It's now $7.99 if you pay a year in advance, which is what we're going to do. I almost thought about killing it, but we sell like $300 or so on there. I can't cut off that much on a month just because I'm irked with what they did. It's good revenue still. I don't have much into it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do even listings. It automatically pulls them for those on HIP. Let's see here. CJ, how are you doing? The Stunlaw 1, good evening. Hey, Disney Family 515. I responded to your post on Patreon too, just FYI. Jason, how are you doing? Good evening. Lex is back. Hey, Lex, how are you doing? Mr. Bob. Hey, Bob, how are you doing? I think I responded to one of your posts on there, too, if I'm not mistaken. I got another video coming out tomorrow for Patreon, too. Hey, Mike, hope you are doing well. Hope the grandbaby is well. Cornelius, how are you doing this evening? Midwest Picker, how are you doing? How are you doing? I have not had a chance to check out your channel much at all. I will have to get over there. Are you a collector? Good evening, good sir, too. I believe, good sir. Hopefully that is correct. Apologize if it is not. Hey, Regina, how are you doing? I did answer something for you as well, if I'm not mistaken. My brain's a little dead. I've been rushing around all day. I haven't had a minute's peace since 6:30, and I forgot to take the garbage out today. So, anyway, I was up early enough to do it, and I forgot. Had so much going on. I've got people out of school, so people want to work now more hours. So, and I'm not going to turn it down again. I got Christmas coming up here. I'm working towards Christmas now. Cindy, how are you doing? Dr. Full, welcome. Marrakech7, good evening from Seattle. You are one of the hardest hit areas Washington State is, actually, from what I saw. Majority of the loss of life have come from Washington, so hopefully you are doing well and staying safe up there. Yeah, Amazon sales were doing fairly well. If you look at trending, though, Amazon is down like 10 or 12%, as is eBay. Again, you got to kind of compare that to the drop-off after fourth quarter, though, but still. Hudson Resales, how are you doing? Crystal L, how are you doing? We've got Gina. Hey, Sue. She Sells by Sue. I watch a few on her channel as well. Sue's a very nice lady. She's in one of my videos, even. Yeah, good sales for now. I've lost motivation not being able to go out. I get that too. I work a lot out of our office, so that's usually what I do most of the time. That's why I like to get out once in a while and just see what's out there. You know, I don't do a lot of haul videos because I don't source. My dog's down here already again. I don't source a lot like everybody else does. I love sourcing thrift stores, flea markets, state sales. I just don't get the chance to. I love that aspect of it. I love going to do that. But again, I go for the big quantities, the dirt cheap stuff that's always there for me. I may not hit that one item at a estate sale that makes me $500, $1,000 all the time because of that, but it's steady. It's always there. And our revenue has increased, you know, a good, you know, double-digit number every year since we've done it this way. So I can't complain. I'd rather have a steady, continuous, always increasing revenue flow than, you know, trying to do potluck with some of the estates. So again, I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not saying it's wrong. That's what I did before we got this avenue. But at some point, the bottlenecks always come into there. And my bottleneck was not being able to get enough good stuff to keep expanding the business. I learned from doing this for this long that the game isn't necessarily to find the most expensive item and do that, because you can't. Like, I've got people who say, I only buy items that are worth $100, $200 that I'm going to make at least that much on as well. I can't find enough of those all the time to live on. So if I don't do other things, I'm going to be dead in the water. We learned that if I buy cheaper items that have a certain percentage margin, that I will sell each item for $9.99 is usually my lowest I'll do anything for. So if I can buy tons of those for almost nothing and bypass the once in a blue moon $500 item, I'd rather have 10,000 $10 items than, you know, a couple $500, $1,000 items. I've just had to weigh my options, and around here it got tight enough where I had to, you know, weasel around with my sourcing avenues. Took us a year or two to switch around to doing it this way, as I've said before, but it's paid off for us. You know, I can't complain the amount of revenue I get and the amount of inventory we have and can get anytime. I could still go out and get inventory now if I really wanted to. I'd have to drive, but I'm not going to do it. We're not spending a dime. I'm not buying any new things. The only thing I spent money on was getting the camera fixed. It'll be back on the 23rd, so I will be able to finish off and shoot out the rest of the Weebles, and all that stuff will be coming out too after the 23rd. Just shoot that out for you. It arrives here. I already got the UPS notice. It's in the mail right this very second. Marie, how are you doing? Welcome. Crystal L, welcome. Yeah, don't panic, Sue. You've got it there for sure. Gina, no sales here, so all. But then again, no listings either. I'm using this as a listing thing. That's all we're going to do. I'm going to list. I'm going to be looking towards the end of the year. I'm going to consider some are going to be a wash this year. But I don't, you know, work week to week. I work, you know, a year in advance. I'm looking ahead. I'm always looking ahead. You know, whatever's going on now is not going to be what's going on in fourth quarter. And if it means I take a dive, you know, through first and second quarter, I can't control it. I'm just going to worry about the end of the year. So if I take a dive through these months and it gets hard on us, you know, I've got our stuff on enough platforms, so I think we should be fine either way, and we got a savings and all that stuff. But the end of the result is I can beef up my sales and listings. I'm not going to be spending so much time if sales do dart on some areas. So I can build them up, so fourth quarter I'll have a heck of a lot more merchandise up. Again, I've said before all this started, We wanted to hit 100,000 listings on one of the stores we have. So if I hit my mark, this gives me more ample time to do that. My sales increase should be, exponential from where we're at now. If I have 70,000 items totally online and I'm doing set amount, if I can raise that to say 150, which would be our end result goal, 150,000 listings, I'm not going to, double it by doubling the amount of listings, but I can expect a 40% or so increase above and beyond, because again, it's going to be hit or miss. The more items you get up, the more items you have that may not be as good as other items. You can't have 150,000 items that are all worth $100. I mean, I'm sure people can, but I can't. I don't have that type of sourcing avenue here. Just FYI. Let's see here. Let's pop down a little farther. Let's see here. Yeah, some people are still working. There are some that I've talked to. Hang on just a second. My feed just disappeared. Where are we at? Yeah, let the haters unsubscribe. I had some nasty comments, all because they attacked my video, and then I stood up for myself, and then they got mad, and then they started with the nasty words and how my videos are awful, even though they've watched them and done all this stuff all before, until I said what they were saying was incorrect. I'm sorry, but there's a law against price gouging when stuff like this happens, and they were all in effect 3 days before the video was up. And I'm surprised, I got attacked. Everybody knows that you can't do this. You're an idiot for thinking people are that stupid. I'm not saying they're that stupid. A lot of people may not know of laws. Again, the price gouging is on every single website I've seen talking about news related. It's on my phone in 2 articles. And my phone's filtered, and I'm still getting that stuff. So anyway. Well, thank you, Crystal. Yes, Jenna, there are haters everywhere. Cindy Roach, yeah, it would be nice to have a bunch of money backlogged in piles of bills. The only ones I have are ones that aren't really, worth money anymore. I've got a lot of vintage bills. Let me pop down here. How you doing, Paul? People are still buying some collectibles from... Yeah, I'm saying collectibles are still selling. Yeah, Duncan, they're going after price gougers right now. The last report I saw, and this is active, this is just like maybe 5 hours ago, there's a couple hundred cases right now of price gouging. Cases. Attorney General already pressing and sending out notice and things like that right this very second. And a lot of them, there's even big box. National companies are getting busted for this right now. National companies. There's stores that are selling face masks 2 for $39.99. Let's see here. Marie, I'm listing things to help pass the time for adults and kids. See, there you go. Tracy's saying, I just bought a luxury item, but the price was cut in half, so I jumped on it. Yeah, again, I sent out offers to watchers, which I don't do, and I had a lot of people jump on them. I was surprised at how much I sold, even with what's going on. Again, a lot of the items I sell are from, expendable income for people. So they have to have extra income to buy a $50 postcard or a $150 record in the first place. And a lot of these folks are older. I don't see a young folk or young person, even my age, buying a $150 78 record. It just doesn't happen. Most folks who buy those sorts of records are usually retired in the first place. And again, this isn't going to affect them other than maybe the IRA, but those go up, those go down. It's just a fact of life. So if it's down now, it may not be down at the end of the year. Everything reboots, rebounds, the stock market goes back up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to rush to do any judgment, to do anything stupid like that in my book. Let me get to some questions. Again, I've got dog hair floating around now, my little one's down here. I think I'm back to where I was. Hey, Penny, how are you doing, Penny Day? Yeah, here's Sue. Suggest people save your cash and watch for deals on household, etc. when people start needing money. Yeah, you're going to see people selling stuff really cheap when they need the money. I can tell you that for sure, too. That will be a necessity for many people. If you've got a small store, you don't have much in the bank, you just started doing this, you're going to have to hunker down. Don't spend anything if you don't have to. That's the simplest thing you can do. Again, people start selling from their house. Again, Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter, he just did a video on that, as I said before. So if you sell things that you have in your possession that you haven't touched in a year is fair game. When we went to move, things that we didn't touch that weren't collectibles, if we didn't touch them in a year or two or couldn't remember the last time we used them, we got rid of them anyway, just because we didn't want to move with them. I just take it as that same aspect of it. You know, if I lived through 9/11 and being broke for 3 years and living, you know, not knowing if I'm going to have money to feed or pay a bill for 3 years, I can get through this for a few months, you know. It's just how you take it. Don't panic. Again, I'm going to say that throughout this video here because, again, that's one of the biggest things everybody should not do. Thrift trader, tough times are for sure ahead. Hold on to your money. That's exactly right. I haven't had a chance to go back on Thrift Trader and Jason and check on if you sent a photo back or not. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I don't get to that email address very often. I'll try and check it out tomorrow if I can. Make a little note. I'll check it out tomorrow for you if you got something in there. Buy online estate and have it shipped. That is possible, but a lot of people, you'd have to buy a lot of stuff in bulk, possibly, or it'd be expensive to ship. My nose is starting to run now. Ramen noodles taste good with butter and grated cheese. Our kids like ramen noodles dry, uncooked. And I see a lot of people at college do that too. Yeah, Duncan's still listening to his mail. Again, I keep too much of that. That's one of my things. I love postal history. Bob, our main estate sale company is by appointment only and only 25 people at a time. Surprise. Yeah, you can add egg to ramen too, of course. Hey, Aaron. Yeah, I saw your thing in there earlier today on Instagram. I'll hit you back. May not be tonight, but... Gina, I'm getting hungry for ramen. I gotcha. Yeah, everything is cheap, and now we try to keep it. Thanks, Dom. Due to the airport lockdown in Australia. Yeah, I would see mail delays too. Yeah. Cindy, I sold my first retail arbitrage item following your advice today. My only sale today. Well, at least you sold something. Boy, my dog. I wish he'd go away now. Love my dog to death, though. Larry, how are you doing? Evening, Pat D's. How are you doing this evening? The Revenge of the Pink Panther. I saw most of the Pink Panther in the movie theater when I was a child. My parents took us to see him. I liked Peter Sellers when I was younger. He did the part very well for back in the 60s and 70s. Little known fact, the first James Bond was Peter Sellers. Casino Royale, it was a TV version, I think. Maybe there was one before that. I think he was the first movie-length one to be done with as James Bond. The original Casino Royale. I think maybe there was like 3 people that were supposedly James Bond in that one. It's been years since I've seen that. Yes, those that make it through this will definitely be stronger. I'm, as Duncan said earlier, I've seen people already saying they're not going to make it through as it's going now if they can't source and are closing it down. I'm not wishing ill upon anybody. And I've said this, before all this started, I was already buying other sellers' inventory because they were going under already. Again, I'm not wishing any ill harm on anybody, for God's sake. I would never do that because we've got a child with an issue that, has devastated our personal and emotional issues. So trust me, I'm not trying to make light of anything, but stuff's going to happen. We will get through this. If you can make it through this, you can make it through anything. I guess that's the point as a reseller. If you make it through this as a reseller, if the sales go the way they're looking, possibly for some folks, if you make it through, you'll be fine. You'll figure it out, I guess is the point. This is where you're going to be thinking outside the box. You'll be forced to. So this might be a good thing for some folks. You'll be forced to find things. Another thing you can do are make stuff. I do art stuff. You guys know that. I sell stuff that I make, and I do fairly well at that. You know, that stuff's still selling if you're selling the right items. You got to sell the right items in the art category. You got to sell them to retired folks. And again, I'm not trying to make it anything steering towards anyone or anything like that, but you got to think who has the income already there in a time like this. Average Joe down the street's not going to be able to afford it if he's trying to worry about his wife and kids. So if you're going to do something art related, you're going to have to do something that's going to be of interest to somebody who may not have the issue of income or anything like that, or is retired and would be into certain types of things. If you've done this long enough, you can figure it out. Even if you haven't, if you want to research it good enough, you can figure it out. Google Trends does work for some things. Again, I'll call that out there too. I've used that for many years. I used it today for about 20 minutes. So, you know, I want to know what's going on. There's other sites, and you can compare Google Trends to 3 other sites is usually what I do. And then I get like a breakdown sheet is what I type up after that. And it gives me targets and things to go after. That's the point. In fact, Google Trends is even written on right there because I was just doing some with Google Trends. So if I need to do something, I write down a note to say, hey, Google Trends, so in the morning I'll know to do it when I take a break. I look into all this stuff. Just FYI, there's ways to find stuff. There's ways to keep going. Wholesale, again, I'm telling you right now, Wholesale is still out there. Let me slide down. Lex, when I lost my house and everything in 2008, I learned how to live on a string budget. I've lived on a string budget for, a very long time, years. And even before that, even when I was regional and all that stuff, I'm not one to go out and buy fancy cars or anything like that. I don't wear fancy anything. I don't buy fancy jewelry. Though I love watches, they always seem to go dead and the battery dies real quick on me. I don't know what the deal is, but so I don't wear watches. I don't care about this. So I don't buy fancy phones or anything. We got nice TVs. I got nice electronics because, again, I use the electronics every day, and if I'm going to spend the money on something I'm going to use every day, I want it to be how I want it. I like movies and sound, so we've got a nice stereo system and stuff, but that's about all I've ever spent money on is stuff that's for entertainment purposes. Most of our collection of collectibles has been from reselling. You know, I bought for almost nothing, and we've amassed a large amount of stuff in a collection. I've bought stuff for collectibles too, but I haven't done that in probably 15 years. I haven't personally bought something for, well, I'll take that back. I still buy photos and stamps. So that would be a lie if I said I didn't do that. I do buy stamps and photos, and I keep a lot of those. But again, I'm buying them while I'm sourcing it, so my money into it isn't like me buying a collector item, you know, at full cost. So anyway, I'm cheap. In my state, the rule of recommendations is that to have no more than 10 people in any meeting place. I think Trace Elements 13, I think the federal government actually announced that as well now. I think they're saying no more than 10 people meetings of, if I'm not mistaken. Well, thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Duncan. I've got 216 people in here. If you like the conversation, please hit the thumbs up. It does help at least with the rhythm here on YouTube. I put up a video yesterday. If you like old photos, you know, I knew it wasn't going to get a lot of views. Unfortunately, not everybody likes the history aspect of it as much as I do. So if you want to see something interesting, my last night's video was literally photos all from the same U.S. Army company in Koblenz, Germany from 1918. They're all sequentially dated images that I have in my personal collection. I know it's not a reselling issue. Those would sell very quickly and for a very decent money if I wanted to. But give it a watch if you're interested in history at all. I love history. I love a lot of the military collectibles. So for me, it was really neat, and I like making that kind of stuff too. But YouTube penalizes you when you do that, and it got dismal views, unfortunately. You know, I'm not going to complain if nobody wants to see that stuff. But for me, I love that kind of thing. That's why I do this, because I am that much into what I do that it's interesting to me to look at these old images of, soldiers or whatever it is, people in everyday life, someone riding a bike or somebody in a airplane from 1910, that kind of thing. I get excited about. I know maybe everybody doesn't, and this is more just money to you, but I'm into what I sell, at least, and I think you can tell that I'm not just BSing like people accuse me of all the time. I had, I don't know, 4 people out of that last video tell me I'm making all my money from these videos, and all my income comes from YouTube and all this other stuff. I don't know. Apparently they don't watch my videos, but I've got, a couple $1 million in inventory up online. I don't really think the few bucks I get from YouTube is going to make it or break it. I mean, look into what they pay you on YouTube per 1,000 views, and you'll see what I mean. You're not making it rich. You're not even paying for your time, in all honesty. If I didn't have a Patreon, I probably wouldn't be able to keep doing this because of the time it takes. So for those in Patreon, I dearly and sincerely thank all of you. Honestly, I'm not just saying that, because I don't think I make, profit-wise, I probably don't make a dime from doing any of these videos if I break down my time and, the expenses. My camera repair job cost $600, and that's with a warranty, if that tells you anything. So the camera costs a lot of money to begin with, but I wanted to be able to produce better close-ups and stuff, especially for those in Patreon, because I do a lot of close-up videos in Patreon where you get to see a lot of the items. But I spend a lot of money, a lot of time, even labor I spend on this. So, I'm not saying it's offensive for somebody to say that, but look into what we make. You'd be shocked if you saw what I make off of this. And that's before taxes, too. So let's just say that this isn't a game changer at all in anybody's world, unless you get 100,000 views per video or something. It just doesn't work any other way than that. You're not going to make a living off of YouTube unless, what's that, PewDiePie or whatever his name is. See, I don't really follow most anybody like that on here. I don't get into a lot of the videos. Dom shared a name with me the other day, and I'm not going to try and promote anybody else, but fine what everybody else watches, but I'm not interested in what's, I guess, hot or popular or in the trending list. I don't ever look at trending on YouTube. Usually it has nothing to do with what I would be interested in. I watched a video with one of the kids, actually, so it was like family video. We'll throw some videos on. It was a guy making an automatron of himself, chiseling something. He made it out of brass in a shop. That's the kind of thing I like. I like people making stuff. And there's another guy that has like a hand puppet. You never see his face. I can't remember what it is, but he makes a lot of stuff, and I've watched some of his. There's a toy guy I watched too. I can't even remember the name of that one. Haven't watched many videos in a while, so I guess I'm forgetting. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing this evening? Are you a collector? Don, just wanted to thank you. I sold a vintage Sony Trinitron CRT TV for $150. They're out there, and in fact, right this very second on Craigslist, there's 3 of them for like $10 or less, and one of them is free right this minute in my area. I'm not going to mess with it because I don't want to go out and mess with it, but the point is that there's stuff out there, even after, people see it, they still don't think or want to mess with it, which, again, a lot of people are like that with certain things, like picture frames and stuff like that. I almost always can do great on picture frames at almost any sale I go to because no one wants to ship them, and I don't care. I'll ship a $500 item and spend 20 minutes to wrap it. I'm fine with 20 minutes for $400 or $500. It's a no-brainer to me. Dave Cruikshank. My wife and I had a photo studio, and I had 3 back surgeries. We did what we had to do to be done and sold cameras I wished I still had. I fully get you. You got to do what you got to do, even if you're working for somebody. Like Dave right here, he's talking about. You could have an injury. And even with insurance, some insurances will only pay up to a certain amount. And if you go over that amount, you're SOL. A lot of people who don't have insurance or don't have good insurance, that could end your business. Or it could end your career working for somebody else. Now, I've said this before, and I'm not going to try and drill it in because it's too late for a lot of people to be able to get this type of thing, but I have a BOP. And I've had a BOP for a very long time. A BOP is a business owner's policy. Now, I've talked about it since I've been on YouTube, and I've hit up most every reseller in the field when I first started and asked almost everybody I could think of, who was even the bigwigs, if they had a BOP. No one has one. No one has one. These are one of those times where if like the post office were to shut down, I'm not going to worry because, again, my BOP will cover my lost income from national disasters and uncontrollable events like this. So, you know, there's a thought to having insurance, and a BOP is a given in this industry. And if I rent a building, or our warehouse that we're looking into now, if that goes all in our direction, I got to have a business owner's policy for it anyway, because then I'm exempt and everything's covered, and on and on and on and on. It works for the bank. I can show it for a guarantee to the bank. The whole works. If you want to go to the bank, as I said, and get like a loan, or even get an established account, or allow them to waive certain fees or all this other stuff and float money for you and things like that, or have multiple accounts, they want to know that if something happens, that the bank's going to be okay. A business owner's policy covers you. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I've had one. And when we first started off, before we had a ton of inventory, we got it for less than $70 a month. Nowadays, we're paying a couple $100, obviously, well, more than that. But the point of it is, if you're just first starting off, this is your only form of income, what happens if you can't sell or source? You got to have some backup. An insurance plan is a way. AFLAC is one of those companies, too, that offers extra insurance, and I'm not recommending it or not recommending it, but I know somebody who has it, and it's helped them on a couple occasions. Again, I'm one to invest in job security, and my job is selling online, so I got to cover myself, you know. If you don't have medical, at least some sort of basic coverage for your business for natural disasters and things like that would just be a given. If, like, a fire happens, I'm covered. My inventory is covered. You know, my revenue's covered, lost time, lost wages, all that stuff's covered, you know. Just FYI. I'm not trying to drill it in. I know a lot of folks can't afford the money for insurance possibly, but when you can, and this is what you do, this is what you get. You've got to go out and get a BOP. You know, every business in the real world has insurance for their business. Every single one. Even that mom and pop store at the end of the street that only sells to a 4-block area, they have insurance. You know, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you got to cover your business. And this is the one thing that I should say everybody should at least think about. Something you should have learned, you know, from listening to me if you're on my channel and listen a lot, but BOP. I can't stress it enough. I can't say enough how relieving it is to know that if something drastic were to cut into my business, that I would be covered. You know, that's all I can say. And if something happens to me, I have life insurance too. You know, you've got to think about all those things. As much as you hope nothing happens, you've got to think about that. You've got to cover yourself. You've got to be safe. That's all I can say. You never know when something's going to happen. I've hurt myself. In fact, my foot, for almost 3 years now, I've had issues with it. This is a reselling issue. I just don't want to have the surgery. I need to have some joints replaced in my toe and up into my foot. I did some crouching down at sales on my toes, looking at stuff under tables and on the ground and stuff. That's literally what it's from. I felt it rip. I ripped some tendons in my toe. I felt it rip while I was looking at a box of sheet music. This was 3+ years ago. So you can have an accident reselling. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but I had to wear a surgical boot for, I want to say 6 months. You know, as opposed to going to have the surgery. And first they said they didn't want to do surgery, and then they recommended it, and I talked to 3 doctors, and then I decided just to wait. It's gotten better, but it still hurts quite often. I had to put my foot up the other night just because, you know, if I don't wear a shoe, I'm in pain. I have to wear something pretty much all the time. If I've got pressure on my foot, it doesn't bother me as much. The more people stay on, the better. Yes, it would be for lack of spreading this, for sure. Yeah, Sue, I don't get it either. You know, I don't watch something if I don't like it. I don't think I've hit a thumbs down on anybody. I just don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to affect somebody. If I don't like it, I'll just change the channel, basically. Go to a different video. It's not worth the Who cares? I don't get it. Too many people are like that, though. Bob's talking about, I'm not going to shoot out your age there, Bob, but yeah, the cases are limited. The only problem with the cases, it could take weeks for somebody to show the symptoms, or somebody could have it and nobody knows it because they're still healthy because of their age or whatever the case may be. Been living on PB&J and yogurt, Dave over here. You do what you got to do. That's all I can say. I lived on ramen noodles while our kids ate. That's what you got to do. If are making money, so what good for you? You're not talking out of their pocket. Let's see here. Debbie. Same way in California. Yeah, Marie, I thought exactly about that too. I was going to say something about that. My opinion is, since stores are closed, they're not going to need to advertise as much. So you're going to see a dip even in revenue on YouTube. I can tell you for sure, because more people, again, are watching other things that may not get revenue in the first place. So, not that it's a lot of money, but I thought about that too. I think they'll steer it around, and revenue, you'll still see ads, but only for certain things, that are more related to what's going on, would be my guess. But you're going to see a couple weeks where even YouTube would be slow, because again, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to be advertising. I know there's people pulling ads right now, because there's no sense in advertising for an airline when an airline isn't flying, or a restaurant when a restaurant isn't flying. They're not going to spend national money on national advertising campaigns for the latest menu change at Applebee's or something. You're just not going to see it. There's no sense in advertising unless they're going to be just pushing like takeout orders only or something for the next 3 weeks. They'd have to shoot the video, though, and set it all up and do all the stuff just to get a video out like that. So I do think YouTube will take a hit in revenue for some folks. Other channels have sponsors. I've turned down like 8 sponsors. I don't do sponsors unless it's something I would personally use or have used. I don't advertise or promote stuff I don't use. I don't think that's legit in my book. But anyway, so I'm not taking sponsors. I don't get money from anybody just to do a video or anything like that. Yeah, Jason, Thrift Trader, he's got a channel too. He knows that you're not making any great money. Now, I do have a paid Patreon group, so, I do get something out of this, but if I multiplied my time, I'm making far less doing YouTube than I am doing my eBay and my Amazon and all the other stuff we do. So I like what I do. I like what I do. I can't deny it. I do an art channel now as the art professor. I put up the video yesterday, which has no bearing on reselling, because I liked the stuff that's in the video. To me, that's exciting. To me, it's thrilling. I like history. I took all the history classes. I took Japanese history through the Meiji era just because I wanted to take and know more about that. I took classes on spiritualism, witchcraft. It's history. They go into history, and it wasn't like, some fantasy class. I took mythology classes because it covered stuff. I took American Cultural Studies classes. All this is history. I love history. I love it. I took Rev War history class. I took a Civil War history class. I've taken, I took a lot of history classes. History and IT classes were the main ones. My third biggest amount of classes was my art classes. And I didn't take as many of those as I wanted to, because you had to have prerequisites, and they didn't want to let me test out of classes, and it was a money issue, and I wasn't going to pay their money just because they felt I should take a different class. Yeah, you're not going to make money on YouTube, I'd have to be doing like $1 million or $2 million a month, every single month, to get anywhere on YouTube with big money. You're just not going to get anywhere else. The sponsors I get even are, nothing compared to what I've heard other people who've gotten sponsors get. I talked to other channels. I talked to some channels who have over 100,000. I talked to 3 channels in art range that way more than me on art. Even they probably have more views than I do on here, but you get paid by what your video type is on YouTube. So even though they outdo me in views by a long shot, their percentage, their base pay that they get paid per 1,000 views is way lower than ours. I don't know how that works or how that's possible, but that's the case. We've compared numbers and screenshots. So it depends on what you put videos out on. Some videos, like on just everyday or channels that have videos all over the place, they might get, a tenth of what I get, and other channels might get, 10 times what I get or 20 times what I get for the same amount of 1,000 views. It's not like you're making a lot of money. There's videos on here of people showing their page when they hit 5 million views and that they still didn't make that much money with 5 million views. I've been on here for 2 years, and I think we're at 2.1 million views total. And, if I added all the money together, it's not that much money for a 2-year time span. One video almost every day, a couple hours a day for all of this time. You add those numbers up, and it's a lot of time I spent for this small looking amount of money. Let's just put it that way. There's far better ways I could earn money. There would be less work, more money, less aggravation. I mean, it's just the way it is. Let's see what we got down here. I don't even know what time it is now. I'm not even looking. We'll go on for just a few more minutes. I know I started late. I do apologize. Let's hop down here. I don't want to miss anybody, but let's see if we got any. Yeah, my sister-in-law is a teacher too, Cindy, so she is home right this very second. In fact, one of my son's friends, my son's friends who works for us, his mom's a school teacher, and she's out of work right now too. I've got several professors I know that are out of work too. Yeah, HB&A, Health and Beauty Aids, is going okay right now. I don't mess with too much of that anymore. We have that, I have that as a backup in case something does go where I need to put something else in the stream. I have a source for HBA, just FYI. HBA, Hub and Non-Foods, is the insider brick and mortar name for Health and Beauty Aids. It's just what we've always used in the industry. So you might hear Hubba Non-Foods, you might hear Health Beauty Aids, and then Non-Foods. Non-Foods in a store is everything that's not foods. Feminine hygiene and all that kind of stuff. Just FYI. One of my first jobs was Hubba Non-Foods for 5 stores. I handled, Center Supermarket here in Ohio. They all closed down, I think, since then, but I was responsible for ordering all health and beauty aids when I was 18 or 19 for 5 separate stores. I'd go around to each store and order an inventory and everything, all 5 of those stores for Center Supermarkets. Let's see here. Yeah, Hudson, as we said, Legos are still selling. I've got them here if I want to mess with them. Yeah, children's books I heard too. That's another good one. Thank you, Leanne Hill. Children's books. Again, kids are home, so parents like to read. We have a huge assortment of children's books because my wife was awesome. She did the greatest job raising our kids. She'd do the voices. She'd do voices for all the characters. I still remember coming home and hearing her in the background doing the evil monster in some of the books for the kids. Kids loved it. My wife did that. So we have a ton of children's books here. Where are we? Tommy Z, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, puzzles, as we said, puzzles are always good. Well, not always, but puzzles are doing well. Somehow I sold a Batman PC game for $145 today. I've had it for 9 months or so. And reduced it all the way to $99 for a while. It's going to be weird time, I think, for selling. Yes, it will be. But the point is, don't panic, and we are going to get through this. I mean, we're going in the slow time. Most of the people, if you don't have your stuff together and you're new to this, your summer's going to be slow anyway. So you're going to have a slow time no matter what coming into the next month. Now, for us, with what we sell, my fourth quarter and first quarter are as busy. They're pretty much matched. In fact, last year's first quarter was bigger than the year before's fourth quarter. And this first quarter was gearing up already. At this point, I'm ahead of where I would have been in fourth quarter of last year. Right now, even with what's going on. Of course, we had some monster sale days, $3,000 days, $4,000 days, $2,200, $2,700 days. We've had a lot of these days. It's kind of like a YouTube video. Let me put it this way. Hang on, my throat's bugging me. Like a YouTube video takes so long to get its little fingers all over the place where you pick it up. And if they don't push it out, it doesn't pick up. So, I'm losing my train of thought here. So it's the same basic principle with stuff like that. Like the more items you have on eBay, the more chances you have of somebody finding your items and stuff. Sometimes the longer you have it on there, the more it propagates. like on CC Click or something like that, if you're going to be using other sites to pull up merchandise. Everything doesn't show up immediately and things like that too, so longevity on a platform helps your business and things like that too. Like people watching you or following you on eBay and things like that. It's a big plus in some cases too. Where are we at? Board games. Yeah, we've got a few board games here. Ordered a dog grooming kit to groom my dog. He can't go right now. We've groomed our dog for, since we had him. I shave the dogs, or the wife does usually. We trim their hair and everything else here. I learned how to do it. My wife does it. Our dogs are, the oldest one, or the older one, the male, he has panic attacks, and he's got a collapsed esophagus, which happens to Chihuahuas. Both of ours have it. They have to wear harnesses and things, no collars or anything like that. But we learned how to do it because he doesn't panic when it's one of us. So we've always done it. So I do everything. We trim the nails and all that kind of stuff too. It's not, you go to your vet, they'll tell you how to trim the nails. They'll show you in front of you. So if you ever want to save yourself $10-15 in nail clippings, I learned. So that's a good thing, Lex. Definitely so. Let's see here. Vintage Philly, PA. Watch out for all of the how to apply for Corona money scams. Oh, yeah, I can see that coming next, too. Yeah, poker, I could see that, too. Indoor basketball. Carlene, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, dolls. I don't think I have any dolls in inventory now that I think about it. I bought a whole bunch of baby dolls, all beat up and busted up. And they're in a video. They're in one of the haul videos. I sold all of them, and I think I paid it like $1 a piece. I think I got 30 plus out of the damaged, broken gesso dolls. I mean, it was something to repairable. I thought about repairing them for fun, but I never got around to them. I just sold them and listed them. A lot of older folks buy dolls, too, and they'll do and repair dolls, too. The people who bought the broken ones I have sent me stuff. They're going to repair them. One sent me a photo back after they fixed it all up. Couldn't tell at all. Vintage jewelry catalog way slow. Yeah, it just depends. Again, stuff to wear or educational or fun, you might have decent stuff selling. Thrift Trader, yeah, Jason. I got probably more than 700 pounds of Legos. It's probably close to 1,000. I bought 150 or so pounds of Legos. Maybe it was a little more than that. Like a month and a half ago. I haven't touched them. They're still sitting here. But it has the original 90s or 80s Star Wars ones. They're the original ones. The ones that I haven't seen in this quantity before. They're not as worth as much as some of the newer ones, unfortunately. But some of them are. We've had Lego mass quantity. Our kids probably have in their own Lego collection probably 200 pounds. We used to go to a place called Dirt Cheap when we lived in Mississippi, and they were like damaged boxes and open boxes and things like that. And you could buy them sometimes for 10 cents on the dollar. I've seen them down as low at Dirt Cheap, and what's the other one? Shoot, there's another one in those stores. They're all like in Mississippi and stuff. In fact, in December when we were on the Gulf Coast, we went to one. Shoot, I can't think of the name of it. Dirt Cheap's one of the best ones. There was one in Meridian, Mississippi that we used to go to when we lived in Mississippi. And we went in October around the time of Halloween. That was the best time to go to a Dirt Cheap because all of the toy stuff came in. And the one time we were there, there must have been 110 damaged sets of Legos. And we bought every single one of them for the kids' Christmas that year. And we sorted them. Our kids didn't care if they were open. They just wanted the toys. So our kids' Christmas, some of them were mint in the box and never touched, so it was fine. But I'll have to show pictures one day of our kids under the Christmas tree. It filled like the whole room. We had almost nothing into it because I think it was like 5 cents on the dollar those days. But if you know what Dirt Cheap is, it's a southern place. If you live down in Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, or somewhere in that range, I wouldn't doubt that you have a Dirt Cheap by you. Christmas lights. Oh my God, I must have got 400 or 500 sets of Christmas lights at Dirt Cheap for 10 cents on the dollar. I held on to them for the next year. Well, I didn't hold on to them all. I put up all the clear ones, and the blue ones I put up right away. But I held on to the multicolored ones, and I was getting like 150% profit over that. So, I mean, we did it. We made out like a man, and all I had to do was hold on to them. And as I said, some of them sold. So I think we sold enough in like a month's time or 2 months' time on Amazon. FBA to pay for them all. So at the end of the year, I got this huge plus out of a couple hundred Christmas lights that we got for almost nothing. Dirt cheap. That's a great sourcing place, or it was when we went. Even in December when we were there, even after the Christmas rush, I still found some good stuff there. We got a whole bunch of Rick and Morty, like the imitation Lego sets, and a bunch of stuff for like $1 to a set. And I think we sold most of those on FBA for like $17.50 to $18.50 a piece. They were new. They were still in the box. I don't know why everything shows up there, but dirt cheap was always good. They had just rows of stuff. I even found like PS2 and PS3 games still sealed in the packages. I bought every one of them, of course, that were good. I scanned them all while I was there. I scanned them all for FBA, but awesome. I even got DVDs that had been out of production for like 10 to 15 years at dirt cheap. So look that up if you don't know what dirt cheap is. I'll give you that one there. I'm going to cut it off. We're getting to the end, and I've been talking all day, and my voice is getting pretty scratchy on my end. Between the hair from my dog at my feet and me talking all day long, I'm probably just going to end it here. But I do appreciate everybody coming on. Stay safe. I'll probably do a video or so and try to direct some towards things you can do on eBay, and we'll show you my page, and we'll probably show you how to maximize what you got up there. Ploys to, like, limit and mark down just your older items versus, trying to mark down newer items. We'll probably touch on sales and markdown promotions and things like that too. Well, maybe I'll even do a video on how to research and use Google trending and some of the other aspects for SEO, keywords, and which I've done a little bit on, but more on the lines of trying to find items that will sell now. Because again, pick what's trending is like the best thing to do, especially like if you follow like some of the bigger ones on Instagram. You don't really have to follow them specifically, but you can pick up on trending issues from that and then go from there as to what items they may be promoting or trying to push themselves. So if like a big Instagram page that maybe has 500,000, followers, if somebody on there is wearing certain something or trying to push something because he's getting paid as an advertisement, you can piggyback off stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. That's all in that marketing ploy, That's just like if one person does a video on something, everybody else seems to pick up and do the same thing. I don't watch enough of anybody else's videos to know what everybody else does anymore, but it's the same basic principle when you're selling stuff. People will follow certain sellers to see what they do. I follow our competitors. There's 4 major competitors that are not quite as many like Victorian items as I have, but they're in that same gaining ballpark. So, and I've had one guy who writes the book on Victorian trade cards who I've followed for years since he started buying from me, and I figured out who he was. So I'm not going to tell you his name. If you look it up, you can probably find out who wrote the price guide, and he buys from me. But anyway, and I've talked to him. In fact, I just talked to him. I think I better let you go. I gotta get some lozenge for my throat, but I appreciate everybody coming on. Hopefully you got at least some ideas, some thoughts on this. This will go away. It will end. Don't panic. It's not the end of the world. It's not a zombie apocalypse or anything like that. It's a serious, honest-to-goodness threat, though, so don't take it lightly. Do the right thing, and don't go out in public if you don't have to. Hunker down. I'm looking, again, one last time, don't panic. Look out for what's happening in the future. Fourth quarter is going to be coming, and you're going to miss it if you're just sitting here worrying about what's going on now. Obviously, we have to worry about it, but don't just give up on your goals or your business to only center in on day-to-day life like that. You've got to look ahead. Otherwise, come fourth quarter, you're not going to be ready for it, You've got, before October, I want to have everything up. So you've got till September to have everything done. I know it's months away to many people's thoughts. We just had Christmas, but this is what industry does. Big business buys Christmas 18 months out. A year out at the very latest, but 18 months out is when we bought. When I worked for people like Cracker Barrel, things like that. Toy stores, 18 months out trade shows. I've done trade shows, so 18 months out is a standard practice to buy stuff. So anyway, I won't go rambling on here, but I honestly and sincerely appreciate everybody coming on. A lot of good ideas from you folks out there and those watching. A lot of good comments and stuff with things that you can sell. So a lot of people got the idea. You can kind of figure out. Again, nothing's off limits in our house if it means, living. I don't care how long I've owned something. If it's expendable and I don't need it, I don't have to live with it every day of my life, it's expendable to me. But I appreciate everybody again, and I will say good night to you. as soon as I click the right button. Here we go. Good night, everybody.